Okay, so that's a good segue into us talking about the other part of the equation, which is the second part of the thesis. And as I explained or mentioned earlier, it's the issue of why men don't go to church because they see no value in it. And so let me kind of unpack what I mean by that. In most churches, men do not experience a sense of relationship with God because in many churches there is no spiritual recognition of God's presence, which leads, in many cases, to men not feeling any spiritual uplifting or assurance of God's presence in their everyday lives. And for sure, churches which prattle on forever and ever about climate change, sexual perversion, equality, the poor in some far-off land, or standing up for illegal immigration are not speaking to men's need for a powerful God to adore or a brotherhood with the Jesus Christ who died for us on the cross and for them. And men who have families with children are even less well served by such churches.
So, true, and on point. And I had made a little note here when I was prattling earlier, was that I think it's noteworthy that if you just talk to guys yourself, you listeners, if you just talk to people, I've not heard people, except in very rare occasion, I have left the church, or I no longer go to church, or I used to belong to this and I don't belong anymore. I have personally not heard, and I don't see the numbers pointing otherwise, that they don't believe in God or Jesus Christ. In other words, they left the pew, but they did not leave Jesus.
No, as a matter of
fact,
fact,
nor the Bible.
Let me break in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the first episode, I think the statistics from Pew Research was that something like 59% of men do believe strongly in God.
So it's the strength of their character and their belief in God. So I want to make that point, is to not conflate the two. Leaving church is not leaving God. And they leave these pews for two reasons. They're not valued by the owners of the pews, but they're also themselves don't feel valued, or like you said, like what they're doing there has anything to do with the God of their understanding and of the narrative of Jesus Christ. And anyhow, so my point was, when they get up and leave their pew, they're taking their families with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not go someplace else. They may shop around and end up, as you said, with growing male appreciated entities where, Jesus was a male, the apostles were male, yes, the Mary Magdalene, yes, his mother, yes. I'm not trying to get into a, women-men thing, but it's just, like, welcome, brother, and as you said, a strong God.
So let me, those are all good points, and so let me try to put some concrete examples to what I was talking about just a couple of minutes ago, because these are real things in people's lives that they're dealing with. And so how does the church minister to men and their wives who are battling library boards, for example, to keep pornographic books out of the children's section of the library? Well, the fact of the matter is the church isn't ministering to them on that issue, and they take notice of that. How does the church minister and support men and their wives battling with schools and school boards to keep woke policies out of the classroom and teach basic subjects and thinking skills needed to make it in the real world? Well, the church isn't ministering to them on that issue, and they take notice of that. And how is the church ministering and supporting men to protect their families from woke government policies that seek to transition their children, get their daughters to support abortions, and indoctrinate their children not to respect their parents. Well, the church isn't ministering to them on those issues, and they take notice. And how is the church ministering and supporting men and their working spouses in the workplace where allegiance to woke and DEI policies is required in order to, well, stay employed or get promoted? The church isn't ministering to them on those issues, and they take notice of that.